What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well over you. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and I trust that you are excited because training camp is just around the corner. That's right. Before we know it, we're going to blink, and the Dallas Cowboys are going to be in Oxnard, California, getting ready for the 2022 season. Our training camp preview series rolls on here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Please make sure you do subscribe. We have a lot of fun things in store for you, a lot of fun things we're planning as the season gets closer and closer. We'll, of course, have you covered all throughout training camp and the season. That goes without saying. We'll have lots of videos every single week. We'll have a lot of live shows, obviously, after every single game. We have our live roundtables that we do during the week. It's going to be a great time, and we certainly want to share it with you. But like I said, today we are focusing or continuing to focus on the Cowboys roster as a whole, going position by position as we have been doing so throughout this entire series. And today we are talking about the big boys up front, the offensive line. That's right, talking about the trenches, talking about, there is some question here, some mystery. I think that we are maybe underrating just how much mystery there is here. And it's a weird kind of mystery because we know who these starters are going to be, but we do have some questions about how the overall package is going to look, the sum of the parts, if you will. Let's go ahead and take a look at every single offensive lineman currently on the Dallas Cowboys roster. As you can see, we've got some new players here. We've got some new blood, notably the Cowboys first-round pick and Tyron Smith. He is, somebody who we're all expecting some big things from here in 2022. The departures, I think that we do not talk enough about Connor Williams. All right, we talk so much about rightly Lyle Collins leaving, the Cowboys releasing him winding up at the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll of course see him in week 2, but I don't think that we give enough credence to the fact that Connor Williams has gone from this team. I know that he left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths because of the penalty situation, but at the end of the day, he was a very, very viable starter for 4 years for this team along the offensive line. It's difficult to join the Cowboys offensive line and reach the same sort of status or same sort of excellence that Tyron Smith and Travis Frederick did when he was a part of the team, and that Zack Martin did, and even that Lyle Collins did for so long. But because Connor Williams never quite reached that level, I think that people kind of regard him as this failure, but he was a very solid player for this team, left in free agency for the Miami Dolphins, and replacing him is not an easy thing. In fact, it is something that requires so much effort that the Cowboys spent their first-round pick, as mentioned, in Tyler Smith to fill that left guard spot. Obviously, Tyler Smith, the potential left tackle of the future, but let's get to left tackle. Let's talk about Tyron Smith. We're in a very, very difficult spot, all right? I'm just going to be honest with you. At some point, I will probably butcher this. We've got from left to right here, Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz. All right, so lots of easy ways to kind of confuse yourself and trip yourself up. We don't have to spend much time here because Tyron Smith is a future Pro Football Hall of Famer. He is one of the best players on the Dallas Cowboys roster when healthy. In fact, I think the only real question that we have about Tyron is how many games is he going to play? He has not played a regular season game since a regular season game. He has not played every single game of the regular season, if I could speak correctly, since 2015. That was the last season in which the Dallas Cowboys got Tyron Smith for every single game. Now, to put that in some proper/painful perspective for you, that means that the Dallas Cowboys have not had Tyron Smith play every single game for them in the Dak Prescott era. That means that the Dallas Cowboys have not had Tyron Smith play every single game for them in the Zeke Elliott era, obviously. That means that the Dallas Cowboys have not had Tyron Smith play every single game for them in a regular season since they moved to the Star in Frisco. That's right. The last time that Tyron Smith played every single game for the Dallas Cowboys, their training headquarters, their world headquarters was Valley Ranch in Irving, Texas. And so it's been a long time, needless to say. And so it is really unfortunate that we have to say this, but it is not a matter of if, but more than likely a matter of when Tyron is going to miss time for this team. And so that really leads to a big question, and we'll get there in a moment as far as who this team's swing tackle is going to be. But going left to right, we of course move on over to Tyler Smith, the team's presumed starting left guard, again, filling in for Connor Williams now. And we're all very excited about Tyler Smith. Again, consensus was that the Cowboys did reach a little bit for him in the draft, but he's come in, he said all the right things, done all the right things, really showed this disposition and energy towards working and getting better and bettering his craft, and that's really exciting. And I think we all trust this group of offensive linemen, this group of leaders in that particular group to take him under their wing and get him where he needs to be. He is the left tackle of the future. We're talking about somebody who is hopefully a corner cornerstone of this team for many years to come. But I do think that we have to consider how important it is that Tyron Smith, talking now about Tyron, I'm not getting the names wrong, is likely going to miss time. So who the Cowboys swing tackle is going to be is an important thing, because we're going to have Tyler Smith out there at left guard, seemingly between Tyler Biadasz and a TBD sort of situation. But Tyler Smith, the Cowboys starting left guard. At center, we have Tyler Biadasz, and I know there was this kind of consensus last year that Biadasz was not great. Again, it kind of, this goes back to the Connor Williams thing, right? Unless you come in and have the same sort of success, immediate impact success that Zack Martin had, that Tyron Smith had, that Travis Frederick had, you kind of get lumped up into this, not being great category as a Dallas Cowboys offensive lineman. And I think Tyler Biadasz has been a serviceable center for the Dallas Cowboys, but they're clearly not totally satisfied with him. And I think that that's an important storyline to watch. I don't think that his spot on the team is in jeopardy. I don't think his starting spot is too in jeopardy, but I don't think it's 100% airtight, locked in the way it is for most other starters. I think that there is room. There's a tiny little bit of wiggle room. The Cowboys, not that this is the biggest thing in the world, but it's worth mentioning that they did not did not pursue a center in the first round of the draft like many people thought they should. But it is also worth mentioning that the Cowboys are converting, and that's a dramatic word because it's not a big conversion here, but converting Matt Farniok, their 7th round pick last year, from a guard to a center. So they seemingly want some sort of depth at the center position that they do not have. Maybe they just want depth. Maybe they want somebody to challenge Tyler Biadasz, but we're entering the 3rd year here, and by now I think we should have seen something that makes us feel a little bit better than we have. So not a question mark again, just kind of, you can't have Pro Bowlers and all pros at every single position, and certainly not every single position along the offensive line. We were kind of spoiled for a long time. But so not again, it's not a situation that bears watching. It's just an interesting sort of thing. But moving on, we don't have to spend much time here because Zack Martin is, really, I said Tyron Smith's a future Pro Football Hall of Famer, and he is. But if there is somebody who is going to have a bust in Canton, Ohio, the most surefire Hall of Famer on the Dallas Cowboys roster today, in my mind, is Zack Martin. And Tyron Smith would probably be number 2 in that capacity. But Zack Martin is amazing, still playing at an incredibly high level, obviously getting a little bit more up there in age, and a little bit longer in the tooth, but I don't think we have anything to worry about there. The best guard in the NFL, so that is nice. But we move on over now to, I wrote about this, a really somewhat questionable spot in right tackle. All right, now we're going to get to the reserves in just a moment, but the Cowboys, we've talked so much about this offseason, the decisions they've made at 3 different spots, and it's the spots that they addressed with their first 3 picks of the draft. Left guard, we've already talked about Connor Williams and the drafting of Tyler Smith. Defensive end, how Randy Gregory was lost in free agency, however you want to look at that, and the drafting of Sam Williams to sort of effectively replace him, and Jalen Tolbert effectively replacing Amari Cooper, who the Cowboys chose to trade away to the Cleveland Browns. And so I don't think it's fair to say that any of those players, Tyler Smith, Sam Williams, or Jalen Tolbert, has to come in and produce or be exactly like Connor Williams, Randy Gregory, or Amari Cooper. But that's the task at hand, right? You're swapping one out for the other. Granted, the rookies take time to develop and things like that. Somebody who's in that exact same sort of boat is Terence Steele. The Dallas Cowboys, we talk about those 3 players, right? Connor Williams, Randy Gregory, and Amari Cooper that the Dallas Cowboys no longer have. 2 of those left in free agency, and Connor Williams and Randy Gregory. And again, the Randy Gregory thing was a little bit unique. The Dallas Cowboys did choose to move on from Amari Cooper, but they did trade him away. They did technically get something for him, right? And that's a whole different discussion. But the Cowboys chose to cut La'el Collins. The Cowboys chose to move on. They wanted to be rid of La'el Collins, right? And so they released him. They moved on. He's now a member of the Cincinnati Bengals, and they partly did that because they believe in Terence Steele. Now, I think at this point, the Cowboys have already won or benefited or on the positive side, they're in the black, so to speak, when it comes to their return on investment relative to Terence Steele. He was an undrafted free agent 2 years ago. I mean, they've gotten an inordinate amount of usage out of him already. It is so rare that, by year 3, you've gotten this much work out of an undrafted free agent tackle the way the Dallas Cowboys have with Terence Steele. And I think that he took a massive leap forward from year 1 to year 2. Obviously, that first season in 2020, and there were a lot of circumstances surrounding his game and everybody else's and everybody in the world at that time, but took a really important leap. So much so, again, that the Cowboys felt comfortable in releasing La'el Collins. But this is a big bet. This is a massive bet, and we don't focus on it the same way we focus on those other positions I talked about. And the reason is because Terence Steele's been in the NFL before. He's been on the Cowboys. He started for the team before. So he has some kind of time, sort of paid here with this organization. But if the Cowboys are wrong here, if Terence Steele can't hold up, and there was a time in 2020, which was 2 years ago, but that's not that long ago, if this does not work out, if this does not pan out, I mean, that is a huge, huge, huge hole that the Cowboys have now dug for themselves because, a year ago, it was awesome, right? And this is something that I know I talked about on our podcast and here on our channel. The Cowboys were fortunate that Terence Steele, 2020 was a lost season, but it was nice in that if you're the Cowboys, had an opportunity for Terence Steele to get experience, right? Get playing time, sort of baptism by fire sort of thing as an undrafted free agent rookie. And so last year, we're talking about a Cowboys offensive line group that features two legitimate awesome tackles in Tyron Smith and Terence Steele. And you have this swing tackle option in Terence Steele that is really serviceable, right? Like, it's a great thing to have a player who's a legitimate kind of caliber starting tackle option-ish. I know none of those words make sense together, as your reserve, as your swing tackle. And I think the problem, my biggest question right now when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys offensive line as a whole is who is going to be the swing tackle. And that is such an important question because we do not totally know what we're going to get from Terence Steele. I think we're making a big assumption that everything is going to be perfectly fine with him, and I certainly hope that it is. But if it's not, the Cowboys are now down to, who is the team swing tackle? Because that would be your starting right tackle, right? And I think when you take a look at it, who is the answer? I mean, wherever you are, however you're watching, who is, I would like you to take a look at this list and let me know who is the swing tackle on this team. I know that the question is covering up Tyler Smith's name, but you can kind of play around with that, right? Like, there's different configurations, and that's where training camp will be so interesting to see. Will the Cowboys give Tyler Smith work at right tackle? And I don't think so, but we will definitely likely see him get work at left tackle like we did in the offseason training periods, in the days that Tyron Smith maybe isn't there, whatever the case may be. But if we were to, as I'll get this question off the board here, if we were to envision a hypothetical where Terence Steele was either unavailable or not playing well for the Dallas Cowboys, are you comfortable, swinging Tyler Smith out to right tackle, and then maybe you have, Connor McGovern play left guard, right? Like, maybe that's your answer. Maybe, do you feel better about that? Or do you feel better keeping Tyler Smith at left guard? And because of the swing tackle options here, right, I think the answer, I mean, if I have to give an answer today, if I put the question back on the screen here, who is going to be the swing tackle, I think the answer is probably Josh Ball. Now, the Cowboys drafted Matt Waletzko in the 5th round this year, and he is certainly a incredible athlete and looks to be somebody who could potentially fill that role, but he's a rookie, right? I mean, it's a difficult, level of responsibility to ask a rookie to be somebody that important on your team, their rookie season, and so it's difficult to imagine Matt Waletzko being the proper swing tackle his rookie season. Maybe he's the swing tackle of the future. But so Josh Ball is your swing tackle. And I'm talking about this just from the perspective of what if you need a fill-in for Terence Steele, but what if you need a fill-in for Tyron Smith? I mean, we're talking about an offensive line that could, from left to right at some point in the season, be Josh Ball, Tyler Smith. You're talking about the entire left side of your line then really has no NFL experience. And so this training camp, you can make an argument, is much more important for the sort of reserve players of this group than it is for any other on the team. The Cowboys have to find some, not legitimacy, but they have to find some safety in this knowledge. They have to be able to find some comfort, I think, in understanding who they can turn to, because it is a 17-game season. You are very likely going to be playing at some point without Tyron Smith. You have to make that assumption now. And so if you are, I mean, again, is Josh Ball your answer? This is something that, this is a place where we've talked about how have the Cowboys not addressed in free agency. Again, you don't have all pros hanging out on the streets right now at free agency, but the Cowboys have resources. The Cowboys have funds. And so if there was a spot that we would have liked to have seen them added to, it would have certainly been in this department, because there is likely going to be a need for somebody that they may not have on the roster right now, which again is why training camp is important. But that is our discussion on the Dallas Cowboys offensive line, the state of it, with training camp just around the corner. Up next in our training camp preview series, we'll be talking about the secondary. We're going to do it all at once: corners, safeties, everything in between. We're going to have a great time doing so. So very much looking forward to that. My name is RJ Ochoa. You can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok at RJ.Ochoa. If email is more your speed, you can always shoot me an email at rj.ochoa@sbnation.com. What do you think about the state of the offensive line, the state of the swing tackle position, the state of whatever you want? We definitely want to hear your thoughts. Like I said, we're really excited, looking forward to the season and what's going to come. It's always just a fun time and to share it with you. We love the Blog on the Boys community and Dallas Cowboys fan community that we get to interact with on a daily basis. And so Really, really, really excited that football is about to be back in our lives on a daily basis. And so whatever you want to say, if you want to leave a comment down below, we'll get to that too, I promise. So, yeah, I think that does it. So let's just get out of here, right? Let's do it. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, everybody. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have the best day of all time. Like, seriously, just, I hope your food's great. I hope you get some great sleep. Maybe get some great exercise, whatever you want. But I hope you have the best day ever. You know why? Because you deserve it. Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We'll see you next time.